Welcome to the Easy Vibes podcast, your escape to calm, uplifting conversations. Whether you're unwinding or recharging, we've got the perfect vibe for you. So sit back, relax, and let's get into it.
Hello, and welcome back to the Easy Vibes podcast, the show where we dive deep into the feel-good stories of music, culture, and everything in between. I'm your host, Chloe.
And I'm Eden. It is so good to be back. Today we have a topic that is pure, uncut nostalgia. We are talking about the glorious, the infamous, the unforgettable phenomenon of the one-hit wonder.
Exactly. These are the songs that owned the airwaves for a summer, became the theme song to our lives for a few months, and then, poof, the artists seemingly vanished. But the term itself is actually kind of slippery, isn't it?
It really is. The classic definition is an artist who has only one song reach the top 40 of the Billboard Hot 100 in the US. But that feels so limiting. What about a band that's huge in the UK, but only had one song breakthrough in America? Are they a one-hit wonder?
That's a great point. Think of a band like a-ha. We'll talk about them later, but Americans know them for exactly one song. While they're global superstars with a massive discography, then there's the issue of public memory versus reality. An artist might have had 2 or 3 hits, but one was so gigantic, it created this permanent shadow that eclipsed everything else they ever did.
Right. It's like their legacy is defined by a single lightning-in-a-bottle moment. So for today's episode, we're going with a mix of the official definition and the court of public opinion. We're exploring the stories behind these iconic tracks and, most importantly, finding out where these artists are now. But before we start our trip through the decades, let's talk about the formula. Is there a recipe for a one-hit wonder? I feel like there has to be some common DNA these songs share. Oh, absolutely. First, you have the undeniable hook. It's usually a super catchy, simple melody that gets stuck in your head after one listen. Think doo-doo-doo, doo-doo-doo-doo from Walkin' on Sunshine. You can't escape it.
Second, the novelty factor. Many of these songs sound unlike anything else on the radio at the time. They might have a weird instrument, a silly theme, or a distinctive vocal performance that makes them stand out instantly. Sometimes that unique sound is what prevents them from being able to replicate the success.
And finally, the lyrical simplicity. The theme is often universal and easy to grasp. Love, dancing, a breakup, having a good time. It's not poetry, it's a feeling distilled into a 3-minute pop song. That's the magic. So, are you ready to kick things off in the decade of big hair and even bigger synths?
Let's do it. Kicking off with the 80s, we have to start with a-ha and Take On Me from 1985. That synth riff is one of the most recognizable sounds of the entire decade.
But the real story is the music video. The rotoscoping animation where the singer pulls the girl into a comic book world was groundbreaking. It cost a fortune and took months to make, but it's the reason that song became a #1 hit. The band had released the song twice before with little success. The video changed everything.
And where are they now? This is a perfect example of our slippery definition. a-ha are Norwegian rock royalty. They've sold over 100 million records worldwide. They've recorded a James Bond theme, and they still sell out stadiums across Europe and South America. They just never managed to crack the US charts again.
Next up from 1982 is Oh Mickey, You're So Fine, Toni Basil's Mickey. This song is pure energy. The fun fact here is that Toni was already in her late 30s and was an established dancer and choreographer. The song was originally called Kitty, but she changed it to Mickey and came up with the whole cheerleader concept herself.
And after her pop stardom, she went right back to her main career. She's an Emmy-winning choreographer who has worked with David Bowie, Bette Midler, and on films like Legally Blonde. She's a legend in the dance world. Pop music was just a fun side project for her.
Okay, how about Nena's 99 Luftballons from 1983, a German-language anti-war song that became a global smash hit during the height of the Cold War. It's about balloons being mistaken for military aircraft, triggering an apocalypse. Pretty heavy stuff for such a catchy synth pop track.
They did record an English version, 99 Red Balloons, but the band famously hated the translated lyrics, feeling they were too simplistic and lost the original's poetry. And Naaman, the singer, is still a massive star in Germany. She's been a coach on The Voice of Germany and continues to release albums and tour.
Last one for the 80s. Dexy's Midnight Runners with Come On Eileen in 1982. The overalls, the fiddle, that accelerating tempo, it was so unique. The song is a nostalgic look back at a childhood friend with lyrics that are way more complex than people remember.
The frontman, Kevin Rowland, has had a fascinating journey. The band broke up a few years later, and he's been through various solo projects and reinventions. They reformed in the 2000s and still perform. He's a true artist who was never comfortable with mainstream fame, and the band's look and sound changed dramatically with every album.
And we can't leave the 80s without mentioning the song that literally launched MTV, The Buggles with Video Killed the Radio Star. It was the very first music video ever played on the channel in 1981. The title itself was a prophecy. The song is this futuristic, slightly melancholic synth-pop masterpiece.
It's so meta, a song about technology making older forms of media obsolete, promoted through a brand new visual medium that would change the music industry forever. And the Buggles? They were actually two super prolific producers, Trevor Horn and Jeff Downs. They went on to produce for bands like Yes and Asia. They were studio wizards, not pop stars. So after that one massive, era-defining hit, they just went back to their work behind the scenes.
How about one of the most iconic and maybe most misunderstood songs of the decade? Safety Dance by Men Without Hats. The video is peak 80s quirky with the lead singer Ivan Doroschuk and a little person dancing through a medieval village. But the song's meaning is deeper than it seems.
It's a protest song. Doroschuk wrote it after getting kicked out of clubs for poguing, which is a kind of punk dance. It was a protest against bouncers telling people how to dance. And where are they now? Ivan still tours as Men Without Hats, but when he's not on the road, he's a full-time stay-at-home dad, which is just the most wholesome thing ever.
All right, let's move into the flannel-clad, alternative-fueled 90s. And we have to start with the ultimate pub anthem, Chumbawamba's Tub Thumping from 1997. I get knocked down, but I get up again.
The backstory here is amazing. Chumbawamba wasn't a pop band. They were a fiercely political anarchist collective that had been making music for 15 years. They saw signing to a major label and making a pop hit as a form of Trojan horse, a way to sneak their anti-capitalist, anarchist message into the mainstream.
And they used their platform. At the Brit Awards, one member dumped a bucket of ice water on the UK's deputy prime minister. They were chaotic. After their hit, they went back to making experimental political music and officially disbanded in 2012. The members are now involved in activism, writing, and theater. They have zero regrets.
From anarchism to, trumpets! Lou Bega, Mambo No. 5 from 1999. A little bit of Monica in my life. This song was inescapable. The crazy trivia is that the song is built on a sample of a 1949 instrumental by Cuban musician Damaso Perez Prado.
It led to a massive 7-year legal battle over songwriting credits, which Bega eventually won. And where is he now? He's still a huge star in Germany, where he lives. He continues to tour the world, performing his signature mambo style, and he seems to have a great sense of humor about being known for that one song.
Okay, my mind was blown when I learned this next one. Natalie Imbruglia's Torn from 1997. This fragile, emotional anthem that every girl sang into her hairbrush is a cover.
What? No way. A cover of who?
It was first recorded by a Danish singer, then by an American alt-rock band called Edna Swap. Natalie, who was coming off the Australian soap opera Neighbours, recorded her version and it became a global monster hit. She has continued to release albums and has a successful acting career, but Torn remains her defining moment.
Let's close out the 90s with Semisonic's Closing Time from 1998. The ultimate last call at the bar song, right?
Wrong! Completely wrong. song. Songwriter Dan Wilson has said that while he was writing it, he realized the whole song was a metaphor for the birth of his first child. Closing time, open all the doors and let you out into the world. This room won't be open till your brothers or your sisters come. He's talking about being kicked out of the womb.
That changes the whole song. And Dan Wilson is the ultimate Where Are They Now success story. He became one of the most sought-after songwriters in music, co-writing massive hits like Adele's Someone Like You and songs for Taylor Swift and the Chicks. He's won multiple Grammys for his songwriting.
Speaking of wild stories, let's talk about a song that was everywhere in the early 90s, but was almost impossible to understand. Informer by Snow. It was this incredibly fast patois-style rap by a white Canadian artist, which nobody saw coming. It went to #1 all over the world. Before we hit the 2000s, let's take a quick detour into the psychology of this. Why do these songs stick with us so powerfully? It's all about nostalgia. Music is one of the most powerful triggers for memory.
It's true. Hearing a one-hit wonder is like opening a time capsule. It doesn't just remind you of a song, it reminds you of who you were when you heard that song. It takes you back to a specific time, place, feeling, even a smell. It's a sensory snapshot of your past.
And because the artist didn't have a long, evolving career in the public eye, that one song is frozen in time, forever associated with that single era. It's pure, undiluted nostalgia. Okay, ready for the new millennium?
Bring on the 2000s. Let's start with one of the most epic and controversial songs of the era, The Verve's Bittersweet Symphony from 1997, though it blew up globally in the 2000s. That orchestral string loop is iconic.
Iconic and stolen. Well, not exactly. They sampled an orchestral version of the Rolling Stones song, The Last Time. They got permission to use a small sample, but the Stones manager argued they used too much. The result? The Verve lost 100% of their songwriter credit and royalties. Mick Jagger and Keith Richards were credited as the writers.
So they made zero money from one of the biggest songs of the decade? That's brutal. But there's a happy ending. In 2019, Mick and Keith signed the rights back over to the Verve's frontman, Richard Ashcroft. He now gets the credit and the royalties. Ashcroft continues to have a successful solo career in the UK.
Next, a power pop masterpiece from 2003, Stacy's Mom by Fountains of Wayne. The song is perfect, but the music video starring model Rachel Hunter is what cemented it in pop culture history.
This one has a bittersweet ending. While the band was beloved by critics for their clever songwriting, they never had another hit. The band's co-founder, Adam Shadlinzer, went on to be an incredibly successful songwriter for film and TV, writing music for Crazy Ex-Girlfriend and the theme for That Thing You Do. Tragically, he passed away from COVID-19 complications in 2020, a huge loss to the music world.
Let's lighten the mood a bit with Daniel Powter's Bad Day from 2005. This song was everywhere, especially after being used as the elimination music on American Idol. It became the best-selling digital song of all time at one point.
Powter struggled with the immense pressure and ended up taking a long hiatus for music to deal with personal issues. He's since returned, releasing no music and focusing on his family. He says he's grateful for the song and the life it gave him, even if the fame was overwhelming.
And we can't talk about the 2000s without an early internet viral hit. Afroman's Because I Got High from 2000. It spread like wildfire on file-sharing services like Napster. It's a simple, hilarious one-joke song that perfectly captured the slacker culture of the moment.
Afroman, whose real name is Joseph Foreman, has continued to tour and release music independently. He's fully embraced his legacy, and in a wild turn of events, he even ran for president of the United States in the 2024 election, with legalizing cannabis as a key part of his platform. You can't make this stuff up.
Finally, let's touch on the 2010s. The internet age changed the game, but we still have them. How about Gotye featuring Kimbra with Somebody That I Used to Know from 2011? The song and its artistic stop-motion paint video were a global obsession.
It won 2 Grammys, but Wally DeBacker, the man behind Gotye, had no interest in replicating that kind of fame. He's an experimental musician who was shocked by the song's success. He has since focused on his other band, The Basics, and works on various niche musical projects in his home country of Australia, far from the pop spotlight.
And this is a fun one for our debate on definitions. Carly Rae Jepsen's Call Me Maybe from 2012. To the general public, she is the quintessential one-hit wonder. That song was a cultural reset.
But to music critics and her massive cult following, she's one of the most consistently brilliant pop artists of the last decade. Albums like Emotion are considered masterpieces of the genre. She's a great example of how the label doesn't always tell the whole story.
You know, that touches on a really interesting subgenre of the one-hit wonder, the novelty hit. These are the songs that are almost designed to be a one-off. They're built on a gimmick, a joke, or a dance craze, and they burn incredibly bright, but just as fast.
Absolutely. They're a special kind of lightning in a bottle. Shall we dive into the anatomy of a few truly classic novelty hits? I feel like this is a crucial category we need to explore.
Let's kick off the anatomy of a novelty hit with a question that haunted the year 2000. Who Let the Dogs Out by the Baha Men? It was the ultimate novelty hit, a ridiculously simple, barked question over a beat that somehow took over the entire world. Let's kick off the anatomy of a novelty hit with a question that haunted the year 2000. Who Let the Dogs Out by the Baha Men? It was the ultimate novelty hit. It's like, you know the chorus, but you don't know any other part of the song. It's impressive. But that chorus wasn't nonsense at all. Here's a mind-blowing piece of trivia for you. The chorus is a direct phonetic Spanglish mishearing of the opening lines of Rapper's Delight by the Sugar Hill Gang. Go on, listen again. I said a hip hop the hippie. Let's kick off the anatomy of a novelty hit with a question that haunted the year 2000. Who Let the Dogs Out by the Baha Men? It was the ultimate novelty hit, and it was a ridiculously simple, barked question over a beat that somehow took over the entire world. And it was the ultimate novelty hit. I just had that song stuck on repeat, but that chorus wasn't nonsense at all. Is a mind-blowing trivia. Let's listen to how it sounds. Let's kick off the anatomy of a novelty hit with a question that haunted the year 2000. Who Let the Dogs Out by the Baha Men? It was the ultimate novelty hit, a ridiculously simple, barked question over a beat that somehow took over the entire world. So where are the Baha Men now? Well, they actually won a Grammy for Best Dance Recording for the song. They are highly respected musicians back in their home country, the Bahamas, and they continue to tour as cultural ambassadors, so they're doing just fine. Let's kick off the anatomy of a novelty hit with a question that haunted the year 2000. Who Let the Dogs Out by the Baha Men? It was the ultimate novelty hit, a ridiculously simple, barked question over a beat that somehow took over the entire world. So where are the Baha Men now? Well, they actually won a Grammy for Best Dance Recording for the song. They are highly respected musicians back in their home country, the Bahamas, and they continue to tour as cultural ambassadors. So they're doing just fine.
It was absolutely everywhere. You couldn't go to a sports stadium or watch a movie without hearing it. But here's the surprising backstory. It's actually a cover of a Trinidadian soca chant. That's where that unique, infectious energy comes from.
Absolutely. It's a fascinating subgenre. These are songs that might have done okay on their own, but they became cultural phenomena because they were perfectly placed in a movie or TV show, creating an unforgettable moment. The song and the scene become completely intertwined.
Okay, first up on our list of soundtrack superstars is Breakfast at Tiffany's by Deep Blue Something, released in 1995. This song was the absolute king of mid-90s post-grunge alt-rock radio.
Wow, what a journey. From anarchist collectives to presidential candidates, The stories are just as good as the songs. So, Eden, we've come to the end. Time to put you on the spot. What is your all-time desert island #1 one-hit wonder?
This is so tough. I have a soft spot for Come On Eileen just because it's so joyfully chaotic and fun to sing along to, even if you don't know half the words. But I think my ultimate pick has to be Chumbawamba's Tub Thumping.
Interesting choice. Why that one?
Because the story is just perfect. I love the subversive nature of it. The fact that this band of activists managed to sneak a song about resilience and working class struggle into every radio station and into every sports stadium in the world is just brilliant. It's the ultimate musical prank, and I respect it so much. What about you, Chloe? My gut wants to say Stacy's Mom, because it's just a flawless piece of pop rock. But for me, the story really elevates the song. So I'm going with Semisonic's Closing Time. I heard it a million times at the end of school dances and parties, and it always had this slightly sad final feeling. But now you know the secret.
Exactly. Finding out it's actually a deeply personal, hopeful song about new beginnings and the miracle of birth just completely recontextualized it for me. It transformed it from a throwaway end-of-night song into something beautiful. And Dan Wilson's incredible post-fame career is just the cherry on top. It's a story about quiet, continued success after the bright lights fade.
I love that. It perfectly captures the spirit of what we've been talking about. There's always more to the story than just one hit song.
And that is all the time we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us on this nostalgic trip down memory lane. We hope you'll think a little differently the next time you hear one of these gems on the radio.
Join us next time on the Easy Vibes podcast for another dose of good stories and even better vibes. Until then, keep listening.